Hey everyone, welcome back to an episode of the Elixir Foundation series. So in the previous episode, we took a look at cloning down an example project and configuring the build to make it work with our Bodyful project. So what we're going to be doing in this episode is I'm going to be walking you guys through creating our own custom plug. So why are we creating a custom plug? Well, when a request comes in, we need to kind of know if the request that's coming in is coming from a bot, or is it coming from our headless Chrome server, or it's coming from a user who has an actual browser. We need to be able to, to identify between the three kinds of users that are going to be accessing our server, who is actually accessing our server, and then based on that, we need to be able to serve the different requests, like whether it's from cache or we need to do actual pre-rendering process, or whether we can just serve the index and then let the browser render it on the client side. We kind of need to work out that logic, and before we get to that, we first need to know who is actually accessing our server. So what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to create a custom plug. So in the Bodyful directory here, I'm going to create a file called agentplug.ex. I'm going to create a module and Bodyful agent plug. So I want to talk a little bit about module doc. So by default, Elixir, makes documentation a first-class citizen. So we can write a little bit about what we're trying to do. Detects the user agent and identifies the type of user accessing our server. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how we can actually detect who's accessing our server. So we're going to use a hex, so hex.pm. Whoops. So there's a hex called browser that will help us with solve this problem, basically. So I'm going to head over into the GitHub page over here just to take a look, show you guys what it is. So here we can pass in some string, and then basically it's going to return us what kind of user it is. So down here, there's even a function called bot. So we can pass in the user agent, and the user agent is what's passed in the header. So we're going to detect the user agent from the header. We're going to pass it into the browser module here, and it's going to tell us if it's a bot or not. And then if it's a bot, then we'll do something, and then so that we can actually use that information later down the pipe. So first of all, we're going to install this browser hex. So if I head over into our code over here, in here I'm going to install browser, and I believe the latest version is 0.4.3. So that should be good. So let's close down the server and do mix deps get. So that's going to install the browser hex that we're going to be able to use in our project. So here, when you start out with a plug, what you want to do is import plug.con. So this is going to open up a few things for us. So the first thing we're going to need to do is def init options, do options. So we're not going to do anything in the init process. And by default, a plug will expect a call passing in the con and the options. So in this case, I'm going to use _opts. And what this is basically when you want to ignore something in the parameters, in the arguments, you want to prefix it with an underscore. This is a convention in Elixir. So before I go any further, I want to actually use this plug to show you guys what I mean. Because right now, you guys might be confused, like, what the hell is going on? Why is he creating what's his plug? Where is it? How is it going to even mix into the whole process? And like, how do I extract the header from the user agent? And how do I get the user agent from the header? And yada, 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 yada. I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions right now, because that's what I went through when I learned all this. So that's, I know exactly what you guys are going through. So don't worry, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause right here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually implement this plug into our router over here. So here, I'm gonna do plug botiful.agent plug, just like that. And here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a pretty cool tool called require IEX. And then here, I'm gonna do IEX.pry. All right, so why am I doing this? So this is kind of like, I'm putting like a breakpoint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig into the request and I'm gonna show you guys what's going on inside of the call. Like, what happens when the call is made. So the first thing we did was we put this plug over here. And what this is gonna do is when the request comes into the router, it's gonna go to plug logger. That's what's outputting the log, and it's gonna look at a static plug static. Then it's gonna hit our plug, right? So the request is gonna pass through in the pipeline. So imagine this pipeline is coming from the top over here. It's going down the pipe, and it's gonna go through our agent plug, right? And then now we can do something in here. So if you're familiar with rack in the Ruby world, this is a lot like rack, where you can build your own middlewares and you can put it in the middle of the stack, right? So that's exactly what this is. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do IEX and mix, and then I'm gonna make a request into the server. So if I hit the server, it's gonna pause. So it's gonna say, hey, do you wanna go in the middle of this? So here we are, it made the call, and if I look at the con, you see that we have all this information over here. So let me enlarge this just a tad. Yeah, this is better. So over here you can see all kinds of information about the request that's coming through the pipeline. And basically, what we're looking for is, you can see the cookie here, the cache control, and all that stuff. So this is what the browser is actually sending to us, on the server. So you can see here, there's one header here we want to use called the user agent. So this is what we need to pass into that browser hex I mentioned before. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a pause over here, and basically in the next episode I'm going to show you guys how to get this user agent and then pass it in and then use that to determine, and then what we do next. What do we do next to complete our plug, right? But I just want to show you guys this tool. When you're trying to understand a new system, something like this can be like, having the ability to do something like this will be very, very useful for you guys or girls, whoever is watching out there. With that, I want to wrap up this episode, and thank you for becoming a member. This is a members exclusive episode. And with that, I want to wrap up this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.